Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Church, and glad that you can join with us today. And I have a guest with me today, which is brilliant, which is Wayne Keeping. Many of you will know Wayne, some of you won't, so this is your introduction to Wayne. I've known Wayne for many, many years, but we're going to get onto that in a few moments. I hope wherever you're watching from, things are good for you in the United Kingdoms. We're having United Kingdoms. No, it's one kingdom. United Kingdom. We're having a heat wave. Woo! And long may it rain. Enjoying this heat, and you're a kayaker.
Long may it rain.
Long may it not rain.
That's the one.
Long may it not rain. You're a kayaker. I'm a paddleboarder.
Yeah.
A little bit of conflict there. You know, to me, I'm like, anyone could do it sitting down. Anyway, moving on. It's beautiful weather. We live here in sunny Portsmouth, and that's always a joy.
Always.
Especially when the weather is like this. Brilliant. Hope you're doing good wherever you're watching from. Give us a shout out. Remember, it's hello@talking.church. And we've got people joining us from Connecticut, from New York, from Bosham, different parts of the country. Hope all is well with you. Well, today is going to be an incredible time together as we do a bit of an update on things that are happening in Moldova and the Ukraine. But before we do, I just want to introduce my friend to you, Wayne. We have been friends since, I don't know, how old were we when we met?
Well, you're 4 years older than me, so
yes, I am.
There's a big difference there. I'll just get that back in about.
See if anyone's saying 4 years. It doesn't show. No one's doing
saying
that.
They might not, mate. Carl, we're going back to, I think I was 8, you were 12.
Yeah.
In Elmes.
Yeah, and that's quite a few years of friendship. It really is, and we've been friends. And actually, Wayne was in my world when I'd walked away from God at 16. I came back to God at 24. You were right alongside me, helping me to come back. I can remember people in church thought, Andy Elmes, not sure about that geezer, but you stood by my side. And here we are. We've been doing church together, leading church together, because Wayne's an elder. This is a multi-hat person. Wayne is a trustee and a director of Empower Global, which is our the working name of what we are as a company. Also an elder in Family Church. And we've been doing church. That first Sunday, 25 years ago in October, you, your family were there, and we've been doing church. So we've got a lot of history, me and Wayne, but also he is busy with a number of things that we'll get onto in a moment. But tell us a little bit about you. Who is Wayne for those watching?
As you say, I'm a elder, trustee, Family Church. Been in Family Church since, I think, 27 years now, isn't it? 25?
No, it's 25 years in October.
Oh,
it's our 25th anniversary.
Right, okay, so longer than I thought. But before that, I was in Elmes Church with Andy, down in Arundel Street there with Len Cowdery, Pastor Biddle and Steve Potter. Went through them. I think it took 3 pastors to keep you and me there, didn't it?
It did. We worked them.
Made them earn their money. But no, obviously, been in church all my life. Mum and Dad were Christians. Andy gave me the call, said God put on his heart to start a church. We were in a position that was right for us at the time. So we joined 25 years ago. Since then, been working as an elder, trustee with Family Church. Run my own business that was a God-given business for about 25 years with my dad and then after my dad. And God just said to me, time to leave that.
Yeah, and we'll get on to what you went to work for, because that was a huge step. Now, some people that are watching will go, hey, I remember a few months ago, Wayne was on, and also we did a live link to your daughter and son-in-law in Moldova.
That's correct.
And that really was about the work of what we were doing, but Ukraine had just happened then.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, wasn't it, the war?
Tell us about your kids.
Basically, I've got 3 kids. Wife, Nikki. I've got a bit to say about my wife as well. Lovely, adorable wife, Nikki. Gorgeous.
That'll get you points, mate. That'll get you points.
I need the points at the moment. And we've got 3 kids between us. Oldest is Lauren, who's, and I'm going to get this slightly wrong, 30. Megan, who's 23. And Jack, who's 16. Lauren, when God told me to leave my job and I ended up working with Stella's Voice after about 6 months Corridor of Faith, what was next? She had just finished university and she said to me, can I go out and see how God's convinced you to leave a very high-paid job to work for a charity? I said, yeah, sure, have a trip out there for your summer. That was 10 years ago and she never came back.
And of course she fell in love.
She fell in love with ex-orphan Max, and they head up the work for us at the moment in Moldova.
Yeah.
They have started a home a year and a half ago with smaller children because a lot of the children come to us at the age of 16 and they've been in institutions, they've had problems, everything. So we said, can we help them out at a younger age? So we've carried on our work at 16, but we've also started taking on younger children. They've currently got a 4 and 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and Lauren gave birth to a little girl.
This is the bit I want to milk. All right.
You are older than me, but don't forget that.
I know I'm older than you, but you're a granddad now.
Papa, it doesn't sound as
Granddad, grandpa. I want you to let me know, should we call Wayne granddad, grandpa, papa? We want your suggestions. So Wayne, even though it's true I'm older than Wayne, I'm not a granddad yet. He's a granddad, all right? So what would you prefer? Papa. What do you think Wayne should be? Granddad, grandpa? Not granny, definitely not granny.
No, not granny.
Send in your suggestions there, and that's awesome. We're rejoicing with you. So Lauren's, they've just had their, and how old, names, weights?
Gloria.
Good name.
Kochevnikova.
Say that again. Sounds like a rifle.
My daughter would be very impressed at the moment. I've just got that out right. So will Maxby, my son-in-law.
Say it again.
Gloria Kochevnikova.
Wow, that sounds like a rifle, doesn't it? Or, you know, it's
it could be,
a Kalashnikov or
something like that, yeah. But she was born last Thursday, 6 pound 8 ounces. Born a little bit early, a few little complications. That's why they wanted it out early. But hey, God had his hand on it all the way. Lovely little baby. Nikki's just been out there for the last week. And she's just come back. She's had cuddles, but she's been out there looking after the other 5 kids for them, so that they can have some time together and get to know the baby.
Because not only have they just had their child, they've adopted.
We're in the process of adopting 2 younger ones.
Yeah.
And they're fostering the other 3 at the moment.
That's beautiful.
So,
and that's no mean feat, is it?
No.
Now we're getting a few people are kind of agreeing it's Papa.
Oh, let's go with Papa. We don't need to read any more of those messages.
No, but yeah, I'm up for any others. Really, seriously, any you want to send. Well, let's dig into a little bit.
Nanny's gone, by the way. That's Nikki.
Nanny. So she's going to be Nanny.
She's
all
Nanny.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. We did an update, or not an update, we did an initial response a few months ago when the war broke out, and a lot has gone on for you. You've been a very busy guy since then. Now, before we talk about what Stellas is doing in meeting the needs of the Ukrainian war, and again, you know, sometimes people forget that there's a war on. Say what you were getting your hair cut the other day. Tell us about it.
I was having my hair cut about 3 weeks ago, and the guy said, so what do you do as a job? So I started sharing with him, explaining. He said, oh, that's awesome. But is there still a war in Ukraine then?
Wow.
And it just shocked me that as soon as it starts going off the news, people think it's gone.
But the problem is the minute it goes off of the news, people stop giving.
The aid drops.
But also, you know, you've got the aid coming in, but also the cost of getting that aid there. Trucks aren't free, are they? No. How much does it cost to send a truck?
It's costing us about £5,000 to send each truck from here out to Ukraine or Moldova, depending on where the need is, whether it's refugees that have fled the country or whether we've managed to get a truck right into the country, which we've managed to do a couple of times now.
And that's no mean feat in itself, is it?
And that's costing us about £5,000. Now, the good thing is there is still a little bit of aid coming in. The regular people aren't worried about the news. They come to us for an update. We tell them. Everyone goes and gets a little bag of shopping, but the money dries up a lot quicker than that, so the funds are tight.
See, the problem is, the minute you get something that happened with Westminster, Boris, anything, COVID resurge, it takes that whole thought of people really living in a very tough situation in the Ukraine out of the public view.
That's it.
And there's an old saying, which is sadly true, and I hate this, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So we've got to try and make sure, and even what we're doing today is keeping it in mind in our prayers, but also our giving. Right, before we dig into what you're currently doing with the Ukrainian relief and the work with what's going on in the different parts of Ukraine, Stella's Voice wasn't started, or its primary purpose wasn't about Ukrainian relief, was it? Tell us a little bit about what Stella's Voice is. I know a lot of people watching going, oh, we know Stella's Voice. Well, it's a reminder to you. But we've got people watching today that go, we don't know about Stella's Voice. What is Stella's Voice?
Okay. Well, Stella's Voice was set up over 25 years ago. I've only been involved for the last 10 years after being led by God to leave my job and join in with these guys. It was originally set up after their team went out and saw the atrocity that was going on in Romania and then Moldova. And there is a story. I'll try and cut it short. There was a girl called Stella that basically used to meet them, help them with the presents, deliver into the orphanage. She was then moved on, and she died from AIDS after being trafficked.
Okay.
So straight away then, that's where Stella's voice was born, because Stella no longer had a voice.
So it was
Stella
giving
was
a
dead.
voice to her for the
and
other.
the orphans.
The other, yeah. And again, you said recently that it dropped. Originally, when Stella's Voice was set up, it was about the older kids being trafficked.
Yes.
But there's been a really sad, sick, downward fall of age, isn't there?
Yeah.
Of trafficking now.
On the Persons in Trafficking report about maybe 2.5 years ago, it actually said that where Moldova was starting to teach the risk of trafficking in schools, because they wouldn't admit they had the problem originally. Where they started to admit they had the problem, wanting to be in the EU, they had to reduce their numbers in orphanages, and they had to admit they had a trafficking problem. They would teach the risk of trafficking in school. This actually brought the age of 16 to 18-year-old girls being trafficked down by quite a percentage.
That's so sad.
But the following line I then read was literally that although the risk between 16 and 18-year-old girls had been reduced, the traffickers had turned to 8 to 12-year-old girls. And
That's so sad.
You know, my heart broke over 12 years ago when we first went out there. It just broke all over again.
I mean, any age is terrible.
Yeah.
But when you think of it dropping down to the younger kiddies.
Yeah.
And so you're busy. I know I get to watch your life in friendship, but also what we do in church. You were busy with Stella's, and then all of a sudden the Ukraine war, and I know we did that live interview with Lauren and Max about initial response, and people gave so much. They did. Churches were giving, family church gave, individuals were giving. Again, out of sight, out of mind. Just because it's not in the view of people today that are watching, it's still real.
Yes.
People are still losing their homes. People are still being hurt.
Absolutely.
What does Ukrainian relief, helping the families affected by this, look like today?
Well, two fronts. Basically, the aid has definitely dropped off.
Okay.
So as you say, it's come out of the news, it's come away from the spotlight on media, and the aid drops off. The first thing to go is the finance. We need finance to be able to send money straight out there. If you were to give me £500 today, that could be in a bank account within an hour. That could be drawn within 10 minutes by the guys in Moldova.
So no red tape going through different accounts?
That is literally straight in an account and straight drawn out on the cards they have. So money is best.
What would £500 do?
£500 would be now able to feed about 3 or 4 families for a month.
Wow.
It really would.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking basics, pasta, bit of sauce, that sort of stuff. Not luxuries, but basics. You'd keep them fed.
They don't want luxuries, do they?
They don't need and they don't want luxuries. They just want to be able to keep their kids warm, which is good. It's summer at the moment. And the other thing they want to do is be able to feed their kids and put them somewhere safe. The safety part is a problem for them at the moment.
Isn't that the wiring of every parent?
Of course it is.
And so anyone that sort of says, I don't get that, and they're a parent, there's a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of us, you know, again, there's a lot of talk these days about first world problems or, you know, compared to third world problems.
Yes.
But you've got Europe in the middle of that.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a blurred picture where their families, their people, their mums, their dads, like you and me, and they're at a moment where they can't feed their kids, where the house they lived in isn't there anymore. Now, originally, when we spoke and we did the interview a few months ago, you were sending vehicles down to the border, collecting people, bringing them home.
Yeah, collecting refugees from the border.
Is that still something that's going on?
Not as much. A lot of the refugees, we've had about 100 refugees go through our houses. We've only got two girls' houses. Yeah. We moved all the girls in our care. The 16 to 19-year-old girls got moved upstairs. We brought refugees, mums and kids in, and some would come, stay for a few days, regather their thoughts, know what they're doing, and then go on to other European countries.
Family members they had in different places.
Or just countries that have offered safe refuge, they'd move on further away. Other families have wanted to stay in Moldova because they've left their husbands, their brothers, their sons behind. So we accommodated
the men
those.
Weren't allowed to leave.
Over the age of 18, weren't allowed to leave.
Yeah.
So then what we've done, we've actually worked with those guys. About 4 weeks ago, some started going back because they felt it was safer in the west side of Ukraine to be able to start going back. And it looked that, it really did. And we've believed that ourselves. We set up a team that went in 3 weeks ago into Odessa, which a lot of you know from the news. There's a port down at the bottom that Russia definitely wants because it controls the Black Sea. But obviously they've been defending that well. I'll move on to it later. We had a report come in this morning from a family that were with us that have gone back, and the tide's changing again the other way, unfortunately.
Again, people, it's not on the news anymore.
No.
People don't talk about Putin. People don't talk about Russia. People don't talk about the war. But it's really happening, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And it's not in recovery mode. It's still full on, like in that place, still Odessa. Okay, snapshot. I think we've got some photos as well.
Hopefully,
Snapshot
yes.
of a person's everyday life today living who's been back and forth to Moldova.
Okay.
Give us a snapshot.
Well, this came to Max this morning at 8:53. I'm just reading it straight off a messenger he sent us. Good afternoon, Maxim. My family have been living in the small resort village of Sergivka in the Odessa region in Ukraine for the last 2 years. Unfortunately, no one could imagine that such a terrible tragedy would touch this quiet place. On July the 1st, 2022, so we're talking about 10 days ago, at night around 20 past midnight, 3 rockets arrived. 2 of them fell on the recreation centre and 1 in a residential 9-storey building where people slept. When this happened, we were sleeping peacefully with the whole family in our apartment and suddenly woke up from a deafening roar, the first missile strike. My husband and I only managed to jump out of bed, grab our little sleeping son from the bed and wrap him in a blanket and run to the front door of the apartment as we heard 2 more rocket arrivals. From the shaking and the force of the explosion, we understood that everything was very serious and the arrival was somewhere very close.
And they're putting the pictures up now, Wayne. They're putting the images.
So that's the building they're saying was the residential block. The husband left earlier to help the victims. We ended up in a residential building that was located 2 houses from ours. On the day of the tragedy, 21 people died, after which another woman died in the hospital. So they lost 22 people in that area.
Wow.
Huge grief and tragedy for our very small village. Thank God for the fact that we and all of our relatives remained alive and whole. This is God's mercy. I am still very upset and distressed by everything that happened. Great bitterness and pain for the dead people and their families. Being in Sergivka, unfortunately, at the moment is not at all safe. Every day we hear several airborne alarms from which anxiety immediately begins and fear appears. My son and I want to leave Ukraine for the duration of the war and are now looking for housing in Moldova. Can you help us?
Wow.
Obviously, Max has gone straight back and said yes.
And that's not a random instance.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, that's when they put the before. If you could just, Dan, if you could put the before and after photo up of that residence there, you'll see what it was before. It looked a nice place,
Well,
you know.
This is basically right on the Black Sea. It's a tourist attraction in Odessa, and that just shows what
just devastated.
What 2 rockets can do.
And okay, people are watching this going, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about the war. It's still going on. People are being displaced. There's still need. Where do you see this going, mate, the next few weeks?
Next few weeks, next few months, next few years, we've committed as a board, as Stella's Voice, that we're going to be involved in Ukraine long term. The team that went over 3 weeks ago, a week before this happened, went to Odessa, took 2 minibuses of aid. I had 2 UK guys that had been driving a van to Poland, dropping some stuff off. They'd have raised another 10,000 and said, we want to help you because you're right at the forefront. What can we do? I said, you can go out there and drive a van into Ukraine if you want. Because you could tell they were active people. They wanted to do this. So I sent them out, and with Max and one of the others, they went across. They took 2 of the girls back that were staying with us to Odessa to visit their husbands, and then brought them back out again. And they filled the van and spent the money that people had given them for the aid of Ukraine. And they were just blown away, heartbroken. I know I need to talk to them because they want to know what's next. Yeah,
and people's hearts are stirred. Obviously, it goes without saying, I know I represent all of Family Church. We're so proud of you. We're really proud of you, what you do. You're carrying a lot at the moment, mate, aren't you?
There's a good team behind me, mate.
Yeah, but you're carrying a lot, right?
I am.
How does that affect you? You, your family? Again, I didn't tee you up for this.
No.
It's a lot when you think all of those families, all of that relief. It's someone's got to keep the engine. It's like Family Church or any organisation. there's someone that's got to keep the engine. You can have a great team, but someone's got to keep the motors running.
Yeah, and we've got a good team at that level on the board. Obviously, me and Mark do the UK side, and we have a lot of people helping us. I mean, Mark would say the same. We have very good wives behind us.
Okay.
They both are involved with Stella's Voice and the running of it. But as for me personally, it gets harder, I'll admit that, because you have your daughter and your son-in-law out there.
Yeah.
You've got little kids that you, as they're adopting and fostering, I consider my grandchildren already. Yeah. But then you have another baby that's just been born into incredibly horrible world in that area at the moment.
Yeah.
So it does play on you emotionally. You know me, I'm a guy that can lose it sometimes with tears, but I try and hold it together through the week. And I've got to admit, Sunday morning when I get into church and hit worship, I lose it.
Yeah.
Totally lose it.
Our defences are down, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I know everyone's relying on me during the week. When I get into church and into praise and worship, I know it's only me and him. And I can let all that go and just rely on him. And I know he's got me. Yeah. And that gives me strength for the rest of the week. Now, I know I should be doing that every morning. But let's be practical. It don't always happen. But Sunday mornings in worship is my top-up.
God's there every morning.
Yeah,
his love for you is there every morning.
He proves that every day.
His love isn't increased by you spending time with him. God is love.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's that moment when you come into Sunday morning, you begin to worship. It's the anointing, isn't it? We would call that the anointing. Breaks down good, healthy defences you have that hold you. Yeah. And suddenly God messes you up. But in that messing up, he brings strength and healing. So we just got to make sure we don't overwork you on Sunday mornings, mate. So you can.
Well, no, I mean, you guys have been good. I've been kept out of a lot of stuff. I've stepped down from ignition for the time being. It's not. Yeah. I'm not there for set up or breakdown. No. I just need that day to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And hey, there's always some people that can step forward to take your roles in family church, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick recruiting drive there.
And other roles, there's always place for them to step up. Yeah. If they feel they want to do more, there's plenty there.
All right, people are obviously watching this, and they're saying, "I'm guilty. I forgot about Ukraine."
Yeah.
I could say that. Sometimes you just get busy and they're like, I've got to remember there's a war, people are being displaced. It's not about even just the soldiers, it's about the families.
Yeah.
That imagery of that house again just shows you people are losing their homes, people are being displaced. What can people do practically, spiritually, people watching? How could they be involved?
Well, it's always prayer. I mean, definitely, I know it sounds a cliche, but we do need prayers. We need prayers for the team. We need prayers for the board, the decisions we make. You can't help everyone.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but you can't. So we've got to, it's almost sometimes you have to choose who you can help because we don't have the funding, the facilities. The more funding we have, the more facilities we can get, the more people we can help, without a doubt. So prayer, but then it's cash.
Yeah.
Very closely followed. Without money, we can't do much at all. Does God need money? No. But if God's tasked us to do something, we need the money.
And sometimes money itself is good, isn't it? Because you could respond with aid, but the amount of stuff you guys are buying, if somebody bought some packets of nappies, if you bought that in the bulk that you guys are buying,
we get it cheaper.
Yeah.
But also, we can then just send the stuff they can't get. Because if we have money, we can put it in the bank accounts out there and they can go and buy food, they can go and buy medical supplies.
And then there's no shipping.
No shipping costs, so that removes the $5,000 for sending every lorry. Okay. There's no time factor involved, so they can get it the same day. So, I understand some people, they do the shopping and they want to give a little bit and they want to feel they're giving. Great,
and that's
please
awesome.
Keep doing that.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. It's the most we're getting in now are the regular people that are doing their shopping and just dropping a small carrier bag in.
Wow.
And that mounts up to a pallet. 26 times of that and we've got a truck again. Yeah. So we want to keep sending that, but obviously the trucks are getting further apart now, how we can send them, because we don't have the finances to send the trucks and keep doing it.
Again, we'll put the details up on the screen at the end there, but if people wanted to give to Stella's Voice specifically, how would they go about doing that?
Straight on the website.
Okay, and I think Dan will put that on the
You'll see that coming across the screen in a minute, stellasvoice.org. Find that. You can go on there. You can donate to Ukraine or you can donate to the general work of Stella's Voice.
Okay.
You can find us on Facebook. You can contact us through Family Church. If you've got the Family Church number, call us here. People will put you in touch with us. Or if you know me, contact me direct on Messenger.
Okay.
There isn't an excuse to say, I didn't know how to give. there's enough out there.
Yeah, it's a modern world, isn't it? Made with technology, and it's made to give. The world's made to give really easy and get money around the world real quick to meet need. Oh, that's awesome. Other stories that you could share just to encourage people of good news, what you've been able to do. A couple of stories, maybe.
Well, first lorry that we got up together, it was great. And sorry, I haven't got any videos to give down at the moment, but go on our Facebook, have a look on there. It's all on there. The first lorry we sent out was probably about 4 to 5 weeks ago. It was great fun. Every single lorry every donation that's come in has been sorted. It's been weighed, itemised, listed, palletised. Every single one of that has been done by volunteers from the Portsmouth and Havant area. I just want to say thank you to all of them, if any of them are watching this. It's been awesome what they've done. And we then got given a big shop in the Meridian Centre by Havant Council. I outgrew that, so we went for a big warehouse. So we got the warehouse. And then what we do, sending the first lorry out was great because we got it loaded with 26 pallets, almost 30 tonne of aid. I think I couldn't even tell you what the value was. It was big.
Yeah.
But we then sent that out, and the plan for that was to go to Romania and work with an organisation that we found, and the pastor's wife that you saw in the videos I brought back, who left her husband, the pastor, and her 2 sons in Ukraine. She's working with this organisation in Romania, so we worked through them. Unfortunately, our lorry got stuck at customs. They wouldn't let it in until we paid £8,000 tax.
Because everybody's looking to make some money out of this on the borders.
And we thought, it wasn't the borders' fault, it was to do with paperwork. We said, but this is aid. Anyway, it then got through the border, and they don't know how.
And that's where prayer works, right? So when you're saying to people, pray, that's
pray protection over our vehicles and everything.
That's some of the answer to prayer, isn't it? When that suddenly gets freed up.
But there was still this political issue, and it ended up getting to the place and being unloaded, but it wasn't meant to be unloaded, so it had to be loaded again and sent back to customs. When it got to customs, they said, you're going to have to hold it here. So we released the lorry, but then someone came forward and said, I can send a lorry from Ukraine to pick this up, and all we had to pay, instead of £8,000, we had to pay £300 holding fee.
Wow.
And we got instead of being in Romania, having to be distributed, the lorry went straight back into Irpin in the west of Ukraine and just unloaded to all the churches that were working with them there. And the churches have done great in Ukraine. They're using them as distribution centres. Yeah. And a lot of people have been displaced from the east to the west. They don't want to leave their country. I understand that. But they're displaced. They don't have anywhere to live, and the churches are letting them sleep on the floors. The church have done well in this. They really have. They've stood up and done what was asked.
That would be Orthodox church. That would be. It's not just like Pentecostals. It's every church is dug in there. Obviously, for Lauren and Max, they're touching the skin of people with this. Yes. We get to watch. We get to hear. How are they doing? How's Max and Lauren doing with this? Obviously having a baby as well.
Yeah. It's been stressful for them. Yeah. It's been, and they won't mind me saying this, I mean, any marriage that has to do that much comes under stress. They've got a good marriage, and that's what's great. I think we brought her up well, how to love God and how to love her husband, and they're doing great.
And of course, really Max came through the whole Moldovan orphan system
and everything, put himself through Bible school.
Yeah,
after that, Bible seminary, and he's such a good guy, he really is. We're so blessed to have him as part of our family. But they're good. They have their struggles like any young couple.
Yeah.
But they've also got to look after a lot of refugees in the houses, a lot of children in the houses, a lot of young girls in the houses. Max oversees it. He's not doing every bit of the work. He's got a team around him as well. But they definitely need your prayers as well, because now they've had a baby as well that hasn't slept that much in the evenings. Likes to sleep during the day when they're meant to be doing stuff, but they definitely need your prayers as well.
Okay, so let's be doing that. Hey, Talking Church community, let's make sure that we're praying for Wayne and the team and the leaders there at Stellar's, but also praying for Max and Lauren on the ground, because, when I hear that story of that truck being released for 300 instead of 8,000, that's answered prayer.
Yeah.
That's when suddenly, because people are praying, a way's made that doesn't seem to be there. So one thing we can do, even though the media are moving this off of their radar now, this is good this morning for us to be reminded There's still a war going on in the Ukraine. There's still trafficking going on in Moldova and the Ukraine. And sadly, the wickedness of traffickers used this moment, didn't they?
100% it's increased.
When the men weren't allowed to leave the country, suddenly you had the mums and the children pouring across the borders. That's a supermarket for people with wicked intent, isn't it? So the work carries on. That's what I suppose we're trying to say is the work carries on. People are working hard here. Wayne's working hard here. The team are working hard here. Let's keep on giving. Let's keep on sowing. And let's keep on praying. Anything else you want to share to the people that are watching today, mate?
I don't think there is anything else really. Just please keep praying for us. And please keep supporting us. I mean, if you're already doing something to support what's going on in Ukraine or a third world somewhere, then that's great. But if you're not, think about what you want to do. If you want to see it really get to the hands and the mouths of the people that need it, come and talk to us, because we can guarantee 100% of what you give will get out there. I give you my word that 100% will go.
And that's the assurance that we can give, isn't it?
It is.
Because sometimes I know when people do give, they're like, how much goes in administration,
Absolutely.
how much goes in...
Yeah.
Where everything that's given to the work and what's happening in Moldova and Ukraine gets to the ground where the need is, which is absolutely amazing. People are writing in and saying you're an inspiration, Wayne. People saying praying right now. That's what we want, isn't it? Eh? People praying right now. Pastor Steve from Havant's still thinking about you as a grandparent, and he suggested Papa Smurf.
Has he put how much he's donating?
No, he hasn't,
Steve?
but he
Not
said
yet.
Papa
Put that
Smurf.
down there, Steve.
But I am taking this out. Steve actually made that comment when we were talking about it.
Okay.
He's not suddenly made that now. I've made Steve look really bad, but he wanted this suggestion, Papa Smurf, to be known. And I think that it
Papa
needs to be
Smurf will
voiced.
work, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll work. This has been great, mate. This has been something, again, people are praying every day for this great organisation, and Wayne, this is getting people praying again, mate.
Good.
Keeping them
That's what we
conscious. Praying, giving, that's what we do. Okay, let's just finish with a random question here. You're praying, you're walking with the Lord. What Bible verse drives you? Is there a Bible verse here that drives you, or something in the Bible that says, this is what God says about this?
I wouldn't say about this. It's certainly, the first part is drives me. Psalm 1.
Okay.
Steadfast, like a tree, roots in the river. I get that every Sunday.
Okay.
I really do suck it up on a Sunday. And just the rest of what Psalm 1 says. But obviously, you've got other verses in James about widows and orphans.
Yeah.
You know, we have to live on them as an organisation. It's what he's asked us to do.
And Isaiah, this is the fast that the Lord requires. That you know, those are key verses, aren't
but
they?
I think my go-to verse would always be Psalm 1.
Okay, that's
without
beautiful.
a doubt. And my go-to book would be Daniel.
Okay.
No compromise.
Yeah. Love that.
Always, I won't say I've always managed it.
Yeah.
But I've always strived towards no compromise.
That's been your target.
It's caused me some arguments.
Yeah.
But no compromise.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that, mate. That's for sure. Again, someone else saying here, praying for Wayne and the family, Stella's Voice, Ukraine. People, praying. A lot of people saying they're praying. So if that was the result alone of us spending time together today on Talking Church, that's a good response.
Yes.
But also, come on, let's be praying, let's be giving. A lot of people will be watching this on catch-up later on, and so they can't comment live, but I know that they can be inspired. So one more time, if we could just pop the details of Stella's Voice up on the screen, that'd be great. It's
stellasvoice.org. So www.stellasvoice.org.
And I know that the guys will stick that up on the screen as well. Thanks for coming in, mate. Thanks for spending this time. It's a busy day, as it is, but I believe that this is good for awareness, but also for stirring people's hearts again.
I appreciate you coming in and letting me speak to the Talking Church family.
Yep.
And guys, like you say, keep praying for us, keep giving, keep supporting us. And if you've got any questions, contact me. I'll answer them.
Well, there we go. That's Talking Church for this week. Remember, next week is our season finale. and we're going to take a break over the summer then, which is cool. So next week it'll be our season finale to this season of Talking Church. Then we'll come back in September strong with a whole new season. So make sure you're around next week. I think Gina's going to be in. Some other people could be joining us. Anything could happen next week with a season finale. But I hope you're well. I hope this has ministered to you today, inspired you. You know, often you can look at someone like Wayne, you can hear about what God's doing from Wayne, and it's a story of a person that stepped up and said, here I am, God, use me. What's God saying to you? Remember, it's not about the size of the project, the size of a ministry. It's about obeying that voice. What's God saying to you? I remember 10 years ago when Wayne heard the Lord say, leave everything with security, structure in your life. Come and do this for me. But I just believe that some people are there today. Maybe you've done this. I just want to say well done to you. But also maybe you're saying, is there something for me, God? Is there something for me to do? I believe the answer of heaven is absolutely. So why didn't you ask him, what you got for me, Lord? And a whole adventure, which means benefit others, could start. God bless you. Have an amazing week. See you next week for our finale to this season, Talking Church.